Officer, I know exactly what you're doing, and that is why I have been recording you for the past 6 months. Captain Bryce Nolan stood frozen beside a weathered Honda Civic, his flashlight beam illuminating the face of Kendra Ellis. The 34-year-old black public defender stared back at him with unwavering resolve, her words cutting through the rain-soaked air between them with years of pent-up courage and quiet fury. How does a young public defender with a spotless record end up with 3 kilos of cocaine in her trunk during a routine traffic stop? Nolan's practiced smirk vanished. Confusion flickered across his face, then raw anger. His hand moved toward his holster as the rain intensified around them. This traffic stop on a deserted stretch of Milfield's east side had suddenly veered dangerously off script, the tension thick enough to choke on. Kendra Ellis had built her career defending the defenseless in Milfield, a Rust Belt town where the racial divide ran as deep as its industrial roots. 8 years as a public defender had earned her respect from clients, but deep resentment from local law enforcement. She was the daughter of Roland Ellis, a black detective who was accused of corruption and died by suicide before clearing his name. The weight of that loss fueled every step she took. Milfield Police Department's history was checkered with excessive force complaints and suspicious arrests targeting minorities. The city's cramped courthouse processed these cases with assembly line efficiency. For months, Kendra had been documenting patterns in arrests that pointed to systemic corruption, her heart heavy with the injustice she witnessed every single day. Captain Bryce Nolan commanded respect in Milfield. At 48, his silver-flecked hair and immaculate uniform projected authority. The press loved him. Nolan's community outreach programs made excellent photo ops. He was celebrated for cleaning up Milfield streets, credited with a 30% crime reduction. Behind closed doors, however, Nolan ran the department with military precision and fierce loyalty requirements. A man whose power masked a darker truth that sent chills through anyone who truly knew him. Internal affairs investigations mysteriously dissolved when they approached his inner circle. Nolan had blocked 3 separate inquiries into Roland Ellis's case. When Kendra confronted him at her father's funeral, Nolan's sympathetic, public face had slipped. "Your father chose the easy way out," he had whispered. Smart man. Those words had haunted her, igniting a fire of determination that refused to die. Kendra's Honda crawled through Milfield's east side, a route she deliberately took to avoid police checkpoints. Rain pelted her windshield as she mentally reviewed her upcoming cases. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister Paige, "Still coming for dinner Sunday." Blue and red lights flooded her rearview mirror. Kendra's stomach knotted as she pulled over, instantly recognizing Captain Nolan's silhouette in the driver's seat. This was no random stop. Nolan approached with deliberate slowness, raindrops beating on his hat. "License and registration, Miss Ellis?" His tone was professionally courteous, belying the bitter history between them. "What's the reason for the stop, Captain Nolan?" Kendra's voice remained measured, years of courtroom discipline keeping her fear tightly contained. "Taillights out. Dangerous in this weather." Nolan's gaze slid past her to inspect the car interior. Kendra checked her rearview mirror. Her taillights had been working perfectly when she left the office. Through the rain-streaked glass, she noticed a second patrol car pulling up silently, lights off. Officer Devlin emerged, staying near the trunk. A third unmarked vehicle parked across the street. 3 officers for a broken tail light. "Step out of the vehicle, please." Nolan's request came with a smile that never reached his eyes. "Am I being detained?" "Just a routine check, counselor. You understand procedure." Nolan's hand rested casually on his holster. Unless you have something to worry about. Kendra's mind raced. This intersection had no traffic cameras. Her phone was recording audio, but that would not capture whatever they were planning. The rain had chased away potential witnesses. Through her side mirror, she watched Devlin circling toward her trunk, speaking quietly into his radio. His hand touched his jacket pocket repeatedly. Nolan's patience thinned. "Miss Ellis, step out now or I'll have to consider this resistance." Kendra unlocked her door, her heart hammering against her ribs. Whatever they had planned, it was already in motion. The rain intensified as Kendra stood beside her car, water soaking through her blazer. Nolan positioned himself between her and his patrol car, creating a visual barrier. "I'm going to search your vehicle," Nolan announced, his tone suggesting this was not a request. "You don't have probable cause." Kendra's legal training kicked in automatically. "I don't consent to a search." Nolan's expression hardened. "I detected the odor of marijuana coming from your vehicle when you rolled down your window." The lie rolled off his tongue with practiced ease. "That gives me probable cause." Across the street, a lone figure watched from a darkened storefront. The glow of a phone illuminated their face briefly. Someone was recording. "That's impossible," Kendra protested. "There's no marijuana in my car and you know it." Nolan ignored her, nodding to Devlin. "Check the trunk." Kendra attempted to follow, but Nolan blocked her path. "Stay where you are, Miss Ellis." Behind them, Devlin popped the trunk latch. The rain provided cover as he slid a hand inside his jacket, removing a plastic bag. His body shielded the movement as he quickly placed the bag under the trunk's carpet lining. "Captain," Devlin called out, his voice pitched to Carrie, "you might want to take a look at this." Nolan's mouth twitched with the ghost of a smile before he composed his features into a mask of stern professionalism. "Keep an eye on her," he instructed the third officer, walking toward the trunk. Kendra strained to see past them, panic rising in her throat. "What are you doing? This is illegal. You can't plant evidence." The third officer, Merrick, shifted uncomfortably. His eyes darted between Kendra and his colleagues, hesitation written across his face. For a split second their eyes met, and a flicker of shame crossed his expression. "I know what you're doing," Kendra shouted over the rain, loud enough for any recording to capture. "This is a setup," Nolan returned, his expression grave, but his eyes gleaming with triumph. "Ms. Ellis, you have a serious problem. Would you care to explain this?" Nolan held up a Ziploc bag containing white powder, 3 kilos, professionally packed, street value over $150,000. Kendra's blood ran cold. "That is not mine." "You know damn well it's not mine." Her voice rose, fighting to be heard over the rain. "You just planted that." Nolan's expression shifted to performative disappointment. "The prominent public defender carrying narcotics. What a shame." He signaled to Devlin. "Cuff her." Devlin roughly grabbed Kendra's wrists, the cold metal of handcuffs biting into her skin. "Kendra Ellis, you're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute a controlled substance. This is a frame job." Kendra struggled against Devlin's grip. "You're doing this because of my father, because I've been investigating you." Nolan leaned close, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Your father couldn't prove anything either. Look how that ended for him." Kendra's resistance intensified. "I want my phone call. I want my lawyer present for questioning." "Of course," Nolan replied loudly. "You'll have all your constitutional rights, counselor." Officer Merrick retrieved her purse from the passenger seat, carefully avoiding her gaze. As he handed it to Nolan, he hesitated. "Sir, should I log her personal effects now or at the station?" "Station?" Nolan snapped, taking the purse and passing it to Devlin, who bagged it as evidence. Devlin shoved Kendra toward the patrol car with unnecessary force, her shoulder hitting the door frame. Pain radiated down her arm as she was pushed into the back seat. Through the rain-streaked window, Kendra watched Nolan make a call, his expression triumphant. She knew what was happening. Within hours, the story would break. Respected Captain Nolan catches corrupt public defender with drugs. Her career, her father's legacy, her ongoing investigation, all destroyed in a single night. As the cruiser pulled away, Kendra glimpsed the storefront across the street. The figure with the phone was gone. The Milfield Morning Herald's website updated with the news. Public defender arrested on drug charges. Soon, Kendra's booking photo dominated local news. Her exhausted face beneath the headline made her appear guilty already. In the county jail's common area, inmates watched Captain Nolan's press conference on the small television. Kendra stood motionless, still wearing yesterday's rain-soaked clothes. It's always troubling when someone entrusted with upholding justice betrays that trust, Nolan told reporters, his expression appropriately somber. Ms. Ellis's position as a public defender makes this case particularly disappointing. A reporter shouted, "Captain Nolan, is it true Ellis was investigating police misconduct?" Nolan's response was practiced. "Ms. Ellis has made numerous unsubstantiated allegations against our department over the years. We believe this arrest explains her motivation for attacking the integrity of hard-working officers." The camera cut to District Attorney Hargrove. Effective immediately, Ms. Ellis's license to practice law in this county is suspended pending investigation. All her current cases would be reassigned. Kendra's clients, mostly poor, mostly minorities, would now face the system without her. Cases she had built for months would collapse. The timing was not coincidental. Her cell phone and laptop were seized as evidence containing all her research on Nolan's department, now in his possession. The television showed Nolan shaking hands with Judge Elias Thorpe, who would preside over her arraignment. An inmate approached, a young woman Kendra did not recognize. "They did the same thing to my brother last year," she whispered. "Said they found meth in his car. He's still in prison." The news transitioned to weather as guards approached. "Kendra, your arraignment is approaching." Kendra squared her shoulders. The system she had fought within for years was now closing around her. But they had made one critical mistake, assuming she did not have contingency plans for exactly this scenario. Steel doors clanged shut behind Kendra as she was escorted to cell block D. Orange jumpsuit, slip-on shoes, institutional dehumanization by design. The guards who knew her from countless client visits now avoided eye contact. Her cell assignment was no coincidence. She shared it with Tasha Coleman, a former nurse arrested 3 months ago for drug possession, another case with Nolan's fingerprints all over it. "Never thought I'd see you on this side," Tasha said quietly after lights out. The darkness felt safer for truths. "I didn't do this," Kendra whispered. "None of us did." Tasha shifted on her thin mattress. "They got Johnson last year, Martinez before that. Always the same. Traffic stop. Drugs mysteriously appear." Kendra sat up. "All minorities, every single one. And all of us had something in common. We'd crossed Nolan somehow." Kendra's mind raced. "What was your connection?" "I was an ER nurse. Treated a kid beaten half to death in police custody. Filed a report." Tasha's voice hardened. 2 weeks later, Nolan personally pulled me over." Through the night, Tasha described a pattern. At least 7 people framed in 3 years. All cases involved Nolan or his close officers. All victims had challenged police authority. Why hasn't anyone fought back? Kendra asked. With what resources? From in here. Tasha laughed bitterly. Evidence disappears. Witnesses change stories. Public defenders are overworked. And now they got you too. Midnight count interrupted them. Flashlights swept the cell, lingering on Kendra's face. They're watching you extra careful, Tasha observed after the guards left. You must really scare them. Kendra stared at the ceiling. My father was investigating Nolan 8 years ago. He supposedly killed himself when drugs were found in his locker. You don't believe that? Never have. Kendra turned to face her cellmate. Nolan thinks he's destroyed all my evidence. He's wrong. You kept backups. Tasha sounded skeptical. Better. Kendra lowered her voice further. I was counting on this happening. I've been recording everything for months. Visitation Day brought an unexpected face. Officer Quentin Hale, recently transferred from Chicago PD, sat across from Kendra in the contact-free booth. I don't know you, Kendra said flatly into the phone receiver. I know you. Hale leaned forward. Your reputation, your father's case too. Kendra's expression remained guarded. You're Nolan's officer. I'm nobody's officer except the public's. Hale glanced at the surveillance camera in the corner. I transferred here 3 months ago. Been seeing things that don't add up. Evidence logging irregularities, missing body cam footage, officers with lifestyles their salaries can't explain. Hale lowered his voice. Nolan runs the department like a thief. Anyone who questions procedures gets transferred to midnight shifts in the worst districts. Kendra studied him. Why risk talking to me? I'm toxic right now. Because I checked your record. 15 complaints filed against police misconduct in 3 years. All meticulously documented. All dismissed. Hale's eyes held hers. That's not coincidence, so why are you really here? Internal Affairs in Chicago sent me. Hale's admission came as a whisper. There's a multi-jurisdictional investigation brewing. Your arrest accelerated things. The guard called time remaining. I don't believe you, Kendra said loud enough for others to hear. Then softer, prove it. Hale slid a business card across the table. My personal number. Memorize it. As he stood to leave, Kendra asked, Did you know my father? By reputation only. His cases had the highest conviction integrity rate in the department. Hale hesitated. Nobody who knew him believed he was dirty. The guard approached. Time's up. Hale raised his voice slightly. Think about a plea deal, Ellis. It's your best option. As he walked away, Kendra palmed the card, her mind racing. Alley or elaborate trap? Either way, it was the first potential connection to the outside she had had. The courtroom felt different from the defense table. Kendra's wrists and ankles were shackled, the metal cold against her skin. The gallery was packed. Colleagues, former clients, press. Paige sat in the front row, her journalist's notebook open. Judge Elias Thorpe entered, his golf tan visible beneath his robes. Kendra had lost cases before him that should have been slam dunks. His country club membership shared members with Nolan's inner circle. Bail hearing for case number 2025, CR 1701, State versus Ellis. Thorpe barely glanced at Kendra. Her court-appointed attorney, a former colleague named Klein, looked uncomfortable. Your Honor, Ms. Ellis has deep community ties, no criminal record, and is an officer of the court. We request reasonable bail. District Attorney Hargrove approached the bench. Your Honor, the defendant was caught with 3 kilos of cocaine, street value over $150,000. Her position as public defender makes this betrayal particularly egregious. She maintains her innocence, Klein countered. Ms. Ellis alleges the evidence was planted in retaliation for her investigations into police misconduct. Judge Thorpe's expression soured. Serious allegations against decorated officers require serious evidence, counselor. Evidence contained on her confiscated devices. Klein pressed. We move that her phone and laptop be independently examined. Hargrove interjected. Those devices are being processed as evidence of her drug network. They contain privileged client information that requires careful review. Judge Thorpe nodded. Motion denied. Bail is set at $1 million. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. The amount was punitive, impossible. Your Honor, Klein protested. That's excessive for a first-time offense. Ms. Ellis's knowledge of legal proceedings makes her a flight risk. Given her connections to criminal elements through her work, the court has concerns she might flee jurisdiction. Thorpe banged his gavel. Next case. As guards led her out, Kendra locked eyes with Paige, giving a subtle nod. Their contingency plan was now active. Judge Thorpe watched her exit, then checked his phone. A text from Nolan. Thanks. Dinner at the club Saturday. The public defender's office buzzed with nervous energy. Kendra's desk had been sealed with evidence tape, her files boxed for review. Colleagues whispered when Paige entered, press credentials visible. I'm doing a piece on the backlog created by my sister's absence, she explained to the receptionist. Human interest story. While interviewing Kendra's supervisor, Paige noticed Detective Langford lingering near the file room. His nervous glance met hers before he quickly turned away. Later, alone in Kendra's office, Paige carefully photographed the space, noting which files appeared disturbed. She slid a USB drive into Kendra's desktop computer, bypassing the login with a password they had shared since childhood. The hard drive had been wiped clean. Outside, Langford watched from his unmarked car. His phone rang. Nolan's number. They're going through her office now, the sister. Did you get everything? Nolan demanded. All physical files on the Johnston, Williams, and Lopez cases. Her computer was already cleaned out. What about cloud storage, email accounts? Langford hesitated. It says there's no evidence of remote backups. She's too smart not to have insurance, Nolan snapped. Find it. Langford ended the call, conflict evident on his face. An 18-year veteran with a pension 3 years away, he had watched Nolan's operation grow from petty corruption to something darker. The Roland Ellis case 8 years ago had crossed a line, but Langford had stayed silent, complicit. He watched Paige leave the building, determination in her stride. She had her sister's same fearless walk. Langford started his car but did not follow her. Instead, he pulled out a burner phone purchased yesterday and saved a number labeled Hale. The question was not if he would flip, but whether he would do it in time to matter. There was a warehouse by the old riverfront, Tasha whispered during lunch. The cafeteria's clatter provided cover for conversation. Unit 17, West Side Storage. Nolan meets his crew there twice monthly. Kendra memorized the details. How do you know this? My ex worked security there before he got set up too. Said they'd move shipments at night. Expensive cars arriving, leaving lighter. Tasha pushed food around her tray. Companies registered to Clearwater Holdings. On paper, they import furniture. Kendra's pulse quickened. Clearwater Holdings. That was in my father's notes. Your father was getting close. Tasha lowered her voice as a guard passed. Nolan's operation isn't just planting evidence. The cocaine is real. They're confiscating from actual dealers, then reselling it through their own channels. A distribution network using police authority as cover. Kendra whispered, "That's federal level RICO." "My bail hearing's coming up," Tasha said. "If I make it out, don't go near that warehouse." Kendra interrupted. "They'll know we talked." A shadow fell across their table. Officer Devlin smirking. "Ellis, your lawyer's here." In the attorney room, Klein looked exhausted. "They've expedited your case. Trial date is set for soon." "That's impossible. Discovery alone should take weeks." Judge Thorpe fast-tracked everything. The DA's offering a deal. 5 years if you plead guilty. Kendra leaned forward. "I need you to get a message to my sister. Tell her Clearwater Holdings Unit 17. Klein hesitated. "They're monitoring my communications with your family." "Then tell her I said check Dad's fishing spot. She'll understand." Kendra's mind raced. "Also, I need you to request my personal effects inventory from booking." "Why?" "Just checking they logged everything correctly." Kendra kept her expression neutral, aware of cameras. "Especially my jewelry and watch." Klein nodded, confused but compliant. What he did not know was that the vintage watch Kendra wore during her arrest contained a micro SD card with encrypted files. Insurance Nolan had not discovered yet. Paige Ellis paced her apartment, phone pressed to her ear. "This is insane. They're rushing her to trial in less than a week. No discovery, no proper defense prep." On the other end, Klein sounded defeated. "Judge Thorpe is rubber stamping everything the DA requests. They've got her cornered. And the message? She said check Dad's fishing spot and something about Clearwater Holdings Unit 17. Does that mean anything to you?" Paige's breath caught. "Yes, thank you." She ended the call and immediately pulled a battered tackle box from her closet, their father's last possession. Inside, beneath fishing lures, lay a sealed, waterproof bag containing a USB drive. Paige's hands shook as she plugged it into her laptop. Password protected. She tried their father's badge number. Access denied. Their mother's birthday. Denied. Then she typed read, and the screen unlocked. The drive contained hundreds of files, surveillance photos, financial records, testimony transcripts, all meticulously organized. A folder labeled Clearwater contained property records and shipping manifests for a warehouse registered to a shell corporation with offshore banking connections. Her doorbell rang. Paige froze, quickly ejecting the drive and sliding it into her pocket. Through the peephole, she saw a delivery man holding a package. She opened the door cautiously. "Paige Ellis." "Yes." "Sign here, please." Nothing seemed suspicious. After he left, Paige opened the package. Inside was a burner phone and a note in Kendra's handwriting. "Activate only in emergency. One number programmed. Trust no one else." Paige moved to her window, scanning the street below. A dark sedan was parked across from her building. 2 men sat inside, not bothering to hide their surveillance. She texted her editor, taking personal leave. "Family emergency. We'll call tomorrow." Then she called her closest friend, Sarah Whittaker, ex-FBI forensic accountant. "Remember that corruption story I mentioned? It's happening now. I need your help." Sarah did not hesitate. "Where do we meet?" "Dad's cabin. Come alone. I think I'm being watched." The cabin sat outside Milfield, surrounded by dense forest. Roland Ellis had bought it for weekend fishing trips. Now it served as an unlikely command center. Paige spread her father's files across a weathered table. Sarah Whittaker examined financial records while Alex Callahan, an IT specialist and Paige's college friend, set up secure communications. "These shipping manifests don't match the customs declarations," Sarah noted. Clearwater reports importing furniture, but the weight distributions are consistent with drug shipments. Alex whistled. Your dad was thorough. GPS coordinates, dates, photos. He was building a RICO case. Until Nolan framed him and drove him to suicide, Paige said bitterly. Maybe not suicide, Sarah murmured, studying a document. Your father requested an FBI meeting the day he died. He never showed. Alex's laptop pinged. I'm in their security system. Warehouse has 4 cameras: loading dock, main floor, office, exterior gate. The screen displayed grainy footage of Unit 17. For hours, nothing happened. Then late at night, 3 police cruisers arrived. Nolan emerged from the first, followed by Devlin and 2 officers Paige did not recognize. They unlocked the warehouse and carried in duffel bags. Those aren't evidence bags, Sarah observed. No tags, no documentation. I'll run facial recognition on the others, Alex said, typing rapidly. 30 minutes later, the officers exited. The duffel bags were gone, replaced with envelopes Nolan distributed. Payoffs, Sarah whispered. Can we use this in court? Paige asked. Sarah shook her head. Illegally obtained, but it tells us where to look for legitimate evidence. Alex swore suddenly. The third officer is Lieutenant Vaughn, head of internal affairs. Paige's phone rang. The burner. Hale's number. I found something, he said without preamble. Nolan's planning a major shipment that night. $5 million in product, his biggest yet. How do you know? Langford is talking. He wants immunity, but he'll wear a wire that night. We need more time, Paige said desperately. Kendra's trial is soon. That's why Nolan scheduled it then. He'll be untouchable once she's convicted. Paige parked outside the Milfield Gazette, her workplace for 6 years. The editor agreed to meet despite her leave of absence. She needed press credentials to access court records. As she exited her car, a black SUV pulled alongside. The window lowered, revealing Nolan's face. Ms. Ellis. His voice was conversational. Beautiful day, isn't it? Paige's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. Captain Nolan, fancy meeting you here. Not a coincidence, I'm afraid. Nolan stepped out, towering over her. Let's walk. They moved toward a small park across from the newspaper office. No witnesses nearby. Your sister is in serious trouble, Nolan began. Because you planted drugs in her car. Nolan chuckled. Allegations without evidence. Your family tradition. His smile vanished. I know what you're doing. The cabin visits, the late-night meetings with Whitaker and Callahan, the warehouse surveillance. Paige's blood ran cold. How could he know all this? Your sister is facing 20 years, Nolan continued, but the DA might consider leniency if certain inquiries were abandoned. Are you threatening me? I'm offering a solution. Drop whatever you think you're investigating. Convince Kendra to take the plea deal. 5 years. She'll be out in 3 with good behavior. And if I don't? Nolan's eyes hardened. Accidents happen in prison, especially to ex-lawyers who made enemies putting criminals away. A jogger approached. Nolan stepped back, professional smile returning. Consider your sister's welfare, Ms. Ellis. You don't have much time to convince her. Nolan walked away, phone already at his ear. Paige reached her car, hands shaking so badly she dropped her keys. Inside, she found a manila envelope on the passenger seat. Impossible. She had locked the doors. Inside was a single photograph. Paige entering the cabin. Scrawled across it, "We're watching." She started the engine, fighting panic. Instead of the newspaper, she drove straight back to the cabin. They needed a new plan, and fast. "We need to find the others," Paige announced, bursting into the cabin. Sarah looked up from her laptop. "What others?" "Everyone Nolan has framed. Tasha told Kendra there were at least 7 victims over 3 years." Paige spread out court records she had collected before Nolan's threat. "We need their testimony to establish a pattern." Alex cross-referenced names with arrest records. Marcus Johnson, arrested last year, possession with intent. Former community organizer who led protests against police brutality. Elena Martinez, Sarah added, school teacher who filed excessive force complaint after her brother was hospitalized during arrest. All minorities, Paige noted, all had challenged Nolan or his officers. All represented by overworked public defenders, Alex continued. All took plea deals. By midnight, they had identified 5 victims besides Kendra and Tasha. All shared the same pattern. Traffic stop, drugs discovered, bail denied, expedited trial schedule, pressure to accept plea deals. Hale called with news. Langford confirmed the shipment. That night, $5 million in cocaine coming in, distributed to dealers by Sunday night. "Why such a rush?" Paige asked. "Nolan's spooked. Your sister's investigation, your team's activities, he's accelerating everything before it unravels." "We need to reach the other victims," Paige insisted. "Too dangerous," Hale countered. "Nolan's watching them. But there's something else. The dash cam footage from Kendra's arrest. It's been altered. 8 minutes missing exactly when Devlin was at the trunk." "Can you prove tampering?" "Not without access to the original files on the department server." Sarah interrupted, pointing to her screen. "I found something in your father's files. Nolan deposits $50,000 cash quarterly into an offshore account. Been happening for 9 years. Right after Dad started investigating him," Paige whispered. "There's more," Sarah said. 5 days before your father died, he mailed something to a federal prosecutor in Chicago. There's no record of what it contained." Alex looked up grimly. "We've got 72 hours before Kendra's trial. Nolan's shipment is that night. We need a decisive move now." Paige secured a jail visit with Kendra, their last chance to coordinate before the trial. The visitation room buzzed with conversation, providing cover. "Nolan threatened me directly," Paige whispered. "He knows about the cabin, our team, everything." Kendra's expression remained neutral for the cameras. "They've expedited everything. Judge Thorpe denied all motions for discovery. Klein is overwhelmed. We found Dad's files, the warehouse, offshore accounts, everything. Hale says Nolan is moving a major shipment that night. You've been talking to Hale." Kendra's concern was evident. "Be careful. We still don't know if he's trustworthy." "Langford is cooperating too, wearing a wire that night." Kendra leaned forward. "Listen carefully. My watch. The one Dad gave me. They inventoried it in my personal effects. There's a micro SD card in the band adjustment hole. Nolan doesn't know what's on it. Everything. 6 months of recordings, photos, documents, all uploaded to a secure cloud server. Password is the date Dad died, reversed." The guard approached. 2 minutes. Paige nodded. "What about your phone? Your laptop?" "Decoys. Everything important is backed up, but Nolan has them now." "We're running out of time," Paige said desperately. "Trial soon. Nolan's shipment that night." "It's not a coincidence," Kendra interrupted. "He's clearing obstacles before moving the product." As Paige stood to leave, Detective Langford entered ostensibly to speak with another prisoner. He passed their table, dropping a folded note that slid to Kendra's feet. Once Paige left, Kendra unfolded it in the bathroom. Nolan has informants in FBI Chicago office. Hale is legit. Watch for Vaughn. Internal affairs compromised. 48 hours until they move you to state prison, where Nolan has guards on payroll. The countdown had begun. Kendra had less than 2 days before she was moved beyond reach. The shipment happened that night. Trial soon. The window for justice was closing fast. Outside the jail, Paige found her tires slashed. A warning taped to her windshield. Final chance. Walk away. The next morning. "We need the watch," Alex insisted, hunched over his equipment at the cabin. Sarah nodded. "Without hard evidence, everything we have is circumstantial." Paige's burner phone rang. Hale. "Nolan's called an all-hands meeting tonight covering the shipment. I've been assigned to prisoner transport. They're moving Kendra to state prison at first light. That's not protocol." Paige protested. "Trial's at 9. Nolan's changing the narrative. High-risk defendant justification. Once she's at state, she'll disappear into the system." The call ended, leaving heavy silence. "We need to move now," Sarah decided. "Paige, request Kendra's personal effects through Klein. Alex, we need eyes on that warehouse tonight." "Already ahead of you," Alex replied, showing a small drone controller. "Industrial model, infrared capable, 4-hour flight time." Sarah pulled out her FBI credentials. "I'm officially on leave, but these still open doors. I'll talk to the Chicago federal prosecutor your father contacted." "What about me?" Paige asked. "Something Nolan won't expect," Sarah said. "Go back to the scene of Kendra's arrest. Canvass every business, every house. Someone else might have seen something." Paige drove to the intersection where Kendra was arrested. The gas station across the street had a perfect view. Inside, the clerk recognized her from the newspaper. "You're that reporter, the one whose sister got arrested? Did you see what happened that night?" He hesitated. "Look, I don't want trouble. My sister was framed. Please." The clerk glanced around, then whispered, "Our security camera covers that corner. Manager told police it was broken that night, but it wasn't. He just didn't want involvement. Do you still have the footage? Company keeps backups for 30 days. He slid her a USB drive. "I could lose my job." Paige watched the footage in her car. Crystal clear. Devlin approaching Kendra's trunk, removing something from his jacket, planting it. Indisputable evidence of a frame-up. She called Sarah immediately. "I've got it. Proof." That evening, Klein arrived at the jail with papers for Kendra to sign. Hidden among them, a note from Paige confirming they had the gas station footage and Langford's cooperation. "There's been a development," Klein said for the recording devices. "The prosecutor has offered a reduced plea." Kendra understood the code. Playing along, she reviewed the documents carefully, then slipped Klein a note with her watch's location and property storage and cloud server access details. "I'll need time to consider this offer," she told Klein loudly. After Klein left, Kendra received another visitor. Hale conducting a pre-transfer security assessment. "Everything's in place," he whispered. "Langford is wired. Nolan's shipment arrives at 11. FBI will be monitoring but can't move without concrete evidence tying Nolan directly to the drugs." "Paige has the gas station footage." Hale nodded. "But we need more physical evidence linking Nolan to the operation. Your recordings might help, but we need him caught in the act." "There's a false bottom in my watch case," Kendra revealed. "GPS tracker. I planted it in Nolan's cruiser 3 months ago. Every time he's visited that warehouse, it's logged." Hale's eyes widened. "That's how you knew where to look. I've been documenting his movements for months. Every traffic stop where drugs mysteriously appeared, every late-night warehouse visit, each offshore account deposit. Why not go to FBI earlier? I tried. After what happened to my father, I knew I needed ironclad evidence. Kendra leaned closer. Nolan has someone inside the Chicago FBI office. Every time I approached them, arrests suddenly spiked in Milfield. Who's the mole? I don't know. But everything on that SD card is also backed up to a server only Paige can access. If something happens to me, it automatically sends to every law enforcement agency and news outlet in the state. No. Hale stared at her with new respect. You weren't just building a case. You were setting a trap. Nolan thought he was framing me, Kendra said with grim satisfaction. He actually walked right into my investigation. On the morning of her trial, Kendra waited in her cell, dressed for transport. Nolan arrived personally. Unusual for a police captain to oversee a routine prisoner transfer. Eager for your trial, counselor? Nolan smirked, flanked by Devlin and another officer. Just eager for the truth to come out, Kendra replied calmly. Nolan chuckled. Noble sentiment. Shame about the missing dash cam footage. Technical glitches happen, like the gas station camera across the street that caught Devlin planting evidence. Kendra watched Nolan's smile falter. Or the GPS tracker documenting your visits to Clearwater Warehouse. Nolan's composure cracked. He dismissed the other officers with a sharp gesture. Once alone, his voice dropped to a menacing whisper. You think you're clever. Your sister, too. But after today, you'll be in state prison where accidents happen regularly. You killed my father, Kendra stated flatly. Roland got sloppy, made accusations without proof. Nolan's eyes narrowed. Like daughter, like father. Except I have proof. I'm miles of it already distributed to people you can't reach. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Nolan's face. Bluffing won't save you. This isn't a bluff, Bryce. Kendra's voice was steel. This is checkmate. The cell door opened. Klein entered with Sarah Whitaker. Behind them stood Assistant U.S. Attorney Reynolds from the Federal Prosecutor's Office. Captain Bryce Nolan. Reynolds held up a document. This is a federal warrant for your arrest on charges of narcotics distribution, evidence tampering, corruption, and conspiracy under the RICO statute. Nolan lunged for his weapon, but Hale appeared behind him, gun already drawn. Don't. You're working with them? Nolan snarled at Hale. I've been working with the federal task force for 11 months, Hale replied. Your operation is finished. As federal agents handcuffed Nolan, Kendra approached him. My father sent evidence to the Chicago prosecutor 5 days before his death. They've been building this case for 8 years. Nolan's face contorted with rage as Kendra held up her father's watch. He was recording you too. The Milfield courthouse steps teemed with press. U.S. Attorney Beaumont addressed the crowd. Today marks the culmination of an 8-year federal investigation into one of the most extensive police corruption rings in state history. Behind him stood FBI agents, federal prosecutors, and Kendra, free for the first time in days. Paige clutched her hand as cameras flashed. Captain Bryce Nolan and 11 officers from Milfield Police Department had been charged with multiple federal crimes, including drug trafficking, evidence tampering, witness intimidation, and conspiracy. The investigation uncovered a sophisticated operation that seized drugs from legitimate arrests, then redistributed them through criminal networks while framing innocent citizens who threatened to expose their activities. Footage played on news stations nationwide. Nolan and his officers led in handcuffs from the warehouse during the operation. $5 million in cocaine seized. Lieutenant Vaughn, head of internal affairs, among those arrested. The Chicago FBI mole identified and detained. This case began with the work of Detective Roland Ellis, who first identified irregularities in evidence handling. His daughter, public defender Kendra Ellis, continued his investigation at great personal risk, working with federal authorities to document the corruption that had infected Milfield's justice system. The charges against Kendra were dismissed with prejudice. Judge Elias Thorpe resigned before impeachment proceedings began. District Attorney Hargrove faced disbarment for his role in the cover-up. Detective Langford received limited immunity for his cooperation. His testimony helped identify 7 innocent people wrongfully convicted through Nolan's frame-ups. All cases were reopened. In the precinct parking lot, officers removed Nolan's name from his reserved parking space. Inside, Hale supervised as boxes of evidence were cataloged for the federal prosecution. In a private moment at the courthouse, Assistant U.S. Attorney Reynolds handed Kendra a folder. Your father's original notes. He was a good man, principled. Was he murdered? Kendra finally asked the question that had haunted her for years. The case is being reopened, Reynolds replied. But between us, the ME who ruled it suicide just had his license suspended for falsifying reports at Nolan's request. 6 months later, Kendra stood at a podium in the newly renovated Milfield Community Center. Behind her, a plaque read, Roland Ellis Justice Initiative. Today, we launch a program that will provide legal representation and support for victims of systemic injustice, she announced to the packed room. No one should face the machinery of law enforcement alone. And the initiative's first clients, the 7 people framed by Nolan's operation, now fully exonerated. Tasha Coleman sat in the front row. Recently hired as the center's outreach coordinator, the police department operated under federal oversight. Hale, now interim captain, had implemented body cameras, civilian review boards, and transparent evidence protocols. Applications for minority officers had increased 300%. Sarah Whitaker left the FBI to join Kendra's initiative as lead investigator. Alex Callahan developed secure communication systems for whistleblowers to report misconduct safely. Paige won a National Journalism Award for her coverage of the case. Her series Badge and Betrayal prompted investigations in 3 neighboring counties. After the ceremony, Kendra visited the cemetery. She knelt at her father's grave, now bearing a corrected headstone. Detective Roland Ellis, 1965 to 2017, died in the line of duty. She placed his watch beside the flowers. We finished what you started, Dad. Nolan will spend the rest of his life in federal prison. Your name is cleared. The official inquest ruled Roland Ellis's death a homicide. Nolan faced additional charges, though he maintained his innocence from prison. As Kendra stood to leave, she noticed Hale waiting respectfully at a distance. The interim captain had become an unexpected ally in reforming the department. Your father would be proud, he said simply. There's still work to do, Kendra replied. One corrupt system exposed doesn't fix the others. But it's a start. Kendra took one last look at the grave. Yes, it's a start. In her pocket, her phone buzzed with a message from Paige. New whistleblower just came forward from county sheriff's office. Says they've got another Nolan situation brewing. Justice, Kendra realized, wasn't a destination. It was a continuing journey. If you enjoyed this story of justice and courage against corruption, don't forget to subscribe to PAP Stories for more powerful narratives that expose truth and celebrate those who fight against injustice. Hit that like button if you believe in standing up for what's right. and share this video with someone who needs inspiration today. Turn on notifications to never miss our weekly uploads of stories that matter. Join our community of truth seekers because sometimes the most important stories are the ones that powerful people don't want told. PAP Stories, amplifying the voices that need to be heard.